Hi, my name is Cristian Serdean and I'm the DMU branch secretary of UCU. We're basically having a day of industrial action across the country today, both in HE and FE, and we're basically protesting about quite a range of issues. Job security is obviously one major concern for us. We've got basically about up to 40,000 job losses, potential job losses across the sector. Then pensions, it's another important issue for our members. Basically, what's going to happen from April is people will get a 3% pay cut to contribute more to pensions. They would have to work longer, up to 65 or even longer than that, and in return they would get a much lower pension. And also the government recommended that final year salary pensions will be removed and replaced by career average. Then we've got some issues with regard to pay. In the previous 2 years we had really imposed minimal pay rises, and the employers are not really talking with us in good faith, and that goes also for job security. Our colleagues in pre-92 institutions, they're also on strike with respect to their own pension scheme, the USS. So that's basically in a nutshell what today's action is all about.
And how many colleges and universities are taking part?
Everyone in the country, all over the country. Colleagues in pre-92 institutions also had another day of strikes 2 days before us. Those in England, those in Wales, I think 3 days before us, and Scotland, I think 4 days before us or something along those lines. But everyone, every FE and HE institution in the country is taking strike action today.
Is it going to be a one-off action, or
at the moment, yes, but that remains to be seen.
Okay. And what do you hope to achieve through this strike action?
Well, I mean, first of all, we need to draw the attention of people to what's going on. We've got all these major changes in education, all the cuts. Basically 40% of the higher education budget has been wiped off by the government, and job insecurity leads to lots of issues with workloads, essentially cutting courses, cutting provision, and that is obviously detrimental for students and detrimental for our own members. And then on the government side with the pensions, again, basically we're just throwing an alarm in respect to our very strong opposition to that sort of cut. Staff feel very strongly about their pension. And along the same lines, really, on Saturday there is a huge national demonstration in London organized by the TUC. All unions in the country are involved, really. There are lots of buses going from every single institution, chartered trains. So we're hoping for a huge turnout in Hyde Park on Saturday.
So is there another way that the government can handle this?
Obviously, yes. I mean, there is a lot of propaganda put forward by the government in respect to what they call a historic high deficit and things like that. That's not true. The deficit in the 80s and 70s was even higher than 200%, and what we've got now, it's you can regard as a historic minimum, in fact. So it's all a balance, really, in terms of what they're cutting and from where they're cutting, how much they're taxing, and who and what they're going to tax. At the moment, it's all cuts, 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 and lots of people feel that this is really ideologically based. I mean, the Tories, they've got this ideology of getting rid of the public services and reducing the size of the state, which we don't believe is right, because people should benefit from education. Education should not be only for rich people. Students shouldn't really be asked to basically take a second mortgage, essentially, in order to pay for their education. And we really are just about the only developed country in the world who's doing significant cuts in higher education, or in education in general. All the other countries in Europe, the United States, Japan, they basically invest more in higher education even now in spite of all the economic situation around the globe. So that is really very wrong.
So what would you tell the government? How would you want the government to approach pensions?
Well, for a start, they need to reevaluate really what they're doing and really doing it fairly as they claim they're doing, and they're not really doing at the moment. So they need to take people's feelings into account and make sure that the cuts they do are really fair. Is what's going on at the moment is the banks got us into all this huge mess. They still got their bonuses just fine, and they're doing their bit, pretty much business as usual, and they get slapped with a 2 billion extra levy, and everyone else basically has to suffer. To put it in perspective, really, if you look at how much the total HE budget is, you're looking at about 12 billion pounds really on a good year. So that's the entire HE budget, all universities in the country, everything. Guess how much get bankers in bonuses? 8, more than that, even billions. I think the highest on record was about 11 billions or so. So essentially, bankers getting bonuses, the entire budget of higher education. They got us in that mess, and then essentially the government is asking us to pay for it.
Cristian, thank you very much.
My pleasure.